Back in the fall, as I was getting familiar with West Allis and Central High School, Dr. Strobel and several staff and administrators told me about someone in the community with a special connection to the school district and to Central High School. When I started working with the West Allis Youth Commission, and as I got to know people in the community, I got to know Judge Paul Murphy. It wasn't long after school began that Judge Murphy became a regular visitor in our school, typically coming in during the lunch hour to talk with students in the cafeteria. He has a unique way of connecting with students, and his presence has had a positive impact on students and staff alike. It is my pleasure to introduce this year's commencement keynote speaker, Judge Paul Murphy.
On a cold January day in 1961 in Washington, D.C., John F. Kennedy, the youngest person elected President of the United States, stood on the steps of the Capitol and boldly proclaimed, "The torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans." This torch of freedom has been passed from generation to generation since the time of the Revolution. To carry it is an awesome responsibility and not one to be taken lightly or without preparation. Over the past 4 years, your teachers have done their level best to prepare you for this challenge. This has not always been easy. Your teachers have not always had the choice as to what to teach and how to do so. While you have all learned, many of you could have learned more. The performance of American students, as compared to their contemporaries around the world, has in fact declined. We all share in that responsibility. However, the classroom teacher often and quite unjustly receives a significant share of blame for these results. If you are unprepared for the future, or you lack any essential skills for success in life, do not blame your teachers. A greater share of blame should be directed to government at all levels, which for decades has been micromanaging the classroom teachers in the performing of their task, the training of young minds. This is but one example of the consequences of turning over to the government decisions which should be made locally. The founders knew well that they were establishing a government, one deriving its powers from the consent of the governed. They believed that the rights of Americans are self-evident. As Jefferson wrote, they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among them are life in all its forms, including the lives of the aged, the infirmed, and regardless of ability. Liberty, not to be lost without due process of law. And not happiness, but the pursuit of happiness, not to be burdened unreasonably by government. The framers of the Constitution added to these ideals the protection of numerous rights, among them a right of free speech. Those of you heading off to college may well find that right to be under attack. Colleges and universities are ever more likely to impose speech codes and language codes, which prohibit the expression of viewpoints that are unpopular. Free speech is often limited to a very small area of the campus. You thus have the right of free speech, provided you agree with the speech of the majority. Those not going to college will face similar challenges. To many in government, you may say whatever you want as long as government or the majority agree. That is hardly what was intended by the founders. If a government is able to control all speech, it will ultimately seek to control thought. This cannot be permitted. Yes, sometimes our feelings are hurt by something someone says to us, but it is not a function of government to protect you from hurt feelings. In 1927, Justice Louis Brandeis wrote, "If there be time to expose through discussion the falsehood and fallacies, to avert evil by the process of education, the remedy to be applied is more speech, not enforced silence." Using the power and force of government to silence those who disagree with you is both unconstitutional and un-American. It is wrong. Do not stand idly by while the voices of those with whom you disagree are shouted down by the mob. Remember well the lesson taught by Martin Niemöller. In post-war Germany, he wrote, "First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the Catholics, and I did not speak out because I was not a Catholic. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." By the time he was liberated from a Nazi concentration camp in 1945, over 60 million people were dead, and Europe lay in ruin, and 76 students from this high school gave their lives in the war to defeat fascism. To fail to protect the ideas and speech of others puts a democracy in great peril. I trust you all understand that the process of learning never ends. Learn something new every day of your life. If you are unprepared or have failed to learn a skill, there's still time. If you are unable to perform math in your head, learn how to do it. If you have failed to learn cursive writing, learn how to do it. If you are unable to spell correctly, learn how to do it. If you don't know the basic facts of American and world history, learn them. And have you missed out on the great works of literature, there is still time to read Orwell's 1984, Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, and even Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath. I know many of you are thinking, we don't need that stuff. We have smart devices, iPads, and Google. If that's your reaction, then we have failed in convincing you that your brain and all of the faculties you have all work in unison. You may have missed out on the time-tested formula of memorization, repetition, and recitation. There is still time to master these skills, but do it soon. Do not turn your thinking over to a machine. You want to be the smartest person in the room when the power goes out. As you prepare yourselves for the future, please understand that much of what you may have learned about expectations is wrong. In life, there are few do-overs. Life is often unfair. If you fail at your job, it is unlikely your employer will give you a raise and tell you to try again. You will probably lose your job. Handing in work beyond deadline will not be accepted. You will be told to perform specific tasks at a certain time. You will not receive a ribbon or a paycheck for simply showing up. A telephone call from your mother or father will be of no value. Learning what you want to learn, not what you need to learn, will not be acceptable. Go forward with the understanding that some things are right and some things are wrong because they are wrong and not because someone says so. Murder, stealing, slavery are wrong because they are wrong, not just because they're against the law. If you allow government to determine for you moral right and moral wrong, then you expose yourself and your country to great harm. Do not allow that to happen. Be men and women of character. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Don't seek victim status at every turn, but do what you choose with energy and perseverance without asking government to create success for you. And be prepared for success. As Louis Pasteur famously stated, chance favors the prepared mind. Make your success, whatever that might be, something that you have earned. Only you will know if you have performed to the best of your ability. You will all face challenges and you will be put to the test. Make your choices in life knowing and intentional and with sound judgment. Do not let others lead you astray. If someone in the name of friendship asks you to do something you know is wrong, that person is no friend. Do not surrender your self-respect. If you attend a church, continue to attend a church. If you pray to a God, continue to pray. Those who may mock you or make fun of you are not your friends. Avoid unhealthy or illegal activities and be proud of yourself and your heritage. Those who may mock you or make fun of you are not your friends. Be kind and respectful to those who may not have the skills and abilities or good fortune you enjoy. Now, I do have a message from you for your parents as you set out for the rest of your lives, and this is with credit to Ira Gershwin. You have to be at least as old as I am to know Ira Gershwin. Parents dear, use your tact. If you do not like how we act, do not fret, do not mourn. Is it our fault we were born? Please forgive us all we do, for someday we will suffer too, when in turn we shall groan at some children of our own. You leave as a class for a final time. Your time here is over. You began here as children, and you leave as young adults. We welcome you as our brothers and sisters. Begin your future with high expectations, hopes, and dreams. Live noble lives. You are the new generation of Americans. From this day forward, for each and every day, as long as you live, carry high that torch of freedom, so that in the words of Lincoln, government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. May God bless your class, your teachers, your parents, and each and every one of you.